So after that, was when you were in 8th grade, or
I
what?
was in 8th grade. So then we decided to move to Evanston, and we moved on Jensen Avenue in Evanston, where I was a freshman. Then instead of going to New Trier with all my friends, I think I'd rather go. I can go up here with the resume.
So you had to start again.
Yeah. So, but I'm a friendly girl.
But then a lot of those friends from Evanston are still your friends today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, how did I have trouble with visualizing Nana being mad at everybody? She seems so
Nana? No.
Christ-like all the time.
Yeah. Well, no, she was mad. She was just mad at my father.
Yeah.
And she finally went to bed. I mean, she was in bed for about 2 weeks. Couldn't get out. She was distraught, overcome with sadness and all that kind of stuff. And then, then it was interesting. I should tell you that. When she used to tell me that when she married Daddy, she'd been asked about 4 or 5 times by other people to marry them, and she didn't want him. She wanted to marry my father. So one man she had been engaged to was Metzger, his name was. And he said, well, I don't think it's going to last, Gertrude, so I'm going to wait for you. I'll wait 10 years before I get married. Well, Mother was married for 17 years, I guess. So at the end of 10 years, he married somebody else. And guess what? He moved to Glencoe. This was from Indianapolis. Why he
when
moved
she got divorced, or just in...
Before she got divorced.
Okay.
But when she got divorced, guess who we went to stay with? We went over to his house for a week or two.
Wow.
Oh, but that's why you think my mother is she was really, she loved everybody. I mean, you're right, she was.
This must have been quite the scandal.
Oh, it was. Nobody got.
Him.
Oh my gosh, nobody in the whole world was divorced. One girl here, Joan Goodnough's father, after the crash, committed suicide, and that was a disaster. I mean, that was terrible. But my daddy lived on and did really well, and then he and Bea moved into Evanston, and we lived in Evanston, and we lived at that apartment, I think, for almost 4 years. And then when I decided to go to Northwestern, Mother moved closer to Northwestern on Hinman Avenue. No, it wasn't Hinman. It was something else. I can't remember. But I can show you where it is eventually. And then she got married, and then they moved down on Hinman. And when your father came back, that's where I was living when I met him. When I met him in the first place, and then later when we were married, we were living there. We lived there for January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 6 months until we got married.
You lived together?
Well, we had
with Nana?
Different rooms. We were in Mother and his father were in one bedroom, and I had a bedroom, and he had a back bedroom somewhere by the kitchen, miles from me. But there was no monkey business, and he wouldn't have any monkey business. It was amazing. I have a feeling he was shacking up with a lot of women before me, but and I think even during the war he did. He came home with some disease that we had, and I didn't know about it until I finally said to him one day, I said, if we don't get married on July 11th, we're not going to get married until next January. And he said, well, do you think we should get married? And I said, well, I think so. He said, well, I have a problem. And I have never told anybody about it, but he said, I've got some kind of a sexual problem. And he said, I can't, we have to go and talk to the court or somebody about it and be sure that you'll agree to marry me in spite of this thing. So I said, okay. So I went and said, I don't care, it's fine, just go ahead with me. Wow. I was a Christian Scientist, I thought it was going to be okay anyway. And nothing ever happened. I mean, it was not, there was no...
This was after the war?
After the war.
Right after the war.
Yeah.
How long was it after the war that you got married?
Oh, immediately. He came home. Well, the war was over in 45. And he came home at Christmas, well, probably 46, January 46. And we got married in July of 46. And then he said, we kept saying, what do you want to do? You know, they said, don't push the boys because they're going to come home and they're going to have some time to readjust. And
who was saying that? There were like everybody. Was there like a PR blitz by the Army or something?
Yeah. And the Navy, everybody. I mean, all the psychiatrists said, don't make them do anything because they've been gone for 2 years. He'd been gone for 2 years. You know, that's a long time. So, so finally, I said, what do you think you want to do? And he said, well, I don't want to go into advertising, which his father was in. And I don't want to go into stock. He could have gone with my father into the stock business, which he should have done, but he didn't want to do that. And he had been in the hotel business, and he said, I'm certainly not going to do that again. So he finally said, how about if I learn how to take pictures? So I sent him back to Northwestern, and he took a class there.
in at Medill?
At Medill. They had another teacher then. And then I taught him everything I knew, and by golly, he was really good at it and enjoyed it. It was really, I mean, we both had a lot of fun with it, mainly because we were, let me see, there were very few photographers. Oh, no, that's not true. There were, in Evanston, there were 8 other photographers. In Evanston alone, 8 photographers at the end. But they did high school pictures. And, and they were, I mean, wedding pictures in those days. People came to the studio after the wedding and had their
a portrait done,
Yeah, and they didn't have canvas at all. So I started doing canvas, and that was really unusual. So it was fun. I mean, everybody thought we were wonderful, you know, and they all loved us, and everybody wanted us at the weddings. And
I always tell people that you were the first one in the Midwest to do weddings as a journalist. Is that true, or am I lying?
That's true. No, that's true. I was. Because the rest of them were not doing, you know, they were doing portraits. They weren't doing any canvas at all. But in journalism school, you know, we were told to follow a story and to follow from beginning to end. And I thought, geez, that's what we should do for the weddings. Why don't we get them getting dressed and walking down the aisle and kissing and walking back and the reception, and everybody loved it. You know, we were kings.
And so were you marketing it to people in Evanston, or a lot of these people from...
No. The interesting thing was that, you know, I lived in Glencoe, and I had a lot of friends at New Trier, and I knew that that's where the money was. And we were living in South Evanston, and that's where all the apartments were, and there were, you know, there was not much money down there. So when I decided to open a studio, I thought I'm going to do it up as far north as I can, so that I get the North Shore people, not and the expensive people, then the people who lived in the expensive homes in North Evanston.
Right.
And so I didn't even look anywhere except up around. And I liked being across from Northwestern because everybody would see me. You know, at football games they would all go by there.
Oh, when you were on Central Street.
On Central Street, yeah.
And probably a lot of people all up the North Shore went to Northwestern anyway.
Right. So everybody walked by my studio and said, oh, boy, look at those cute pictures. I mean, it was a success from the beginning. I will tell you that. It was. I moved in January 15th all by myself. You know, I had planned to do it with another girl.
Right.
Remember that story? And the week before Christmas, her mother and grandfather decided that she was not going to go in with me. And they kept all the stuff. I had bought but they had paid for it, but I had bought all this equipment, and there I was the week before Christmas, 3 weeks. I was going to open the studio in 3 weeks, and I didn't have any equipment, no cameras, no nothing. And she had them all in her basement and her garage. So.
What did they end up doing with all that? They just changed their mind and did they just resell it or something, or did she try to go?
She went into. Well, she sort of went into business for herself. I think she went back and got a master's degree, and she was writing, and she was around for a long time. I think she's gone now, but she was around. But I never saw her. She didn't do anything with me at all. I mean, I never saw her again after that.
Huh.
But she was around.
Well, you probably didn't want to. Or wanted to punch her.
Right. So my mother said, "Now, Betty, it's all right. Why don't you ask your father?" So I asked him for $500, and he said, "Sure, good idea. Just as well you do it alone anyway." And so it was $500, and I paid him back in 6 months. That's amazing, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I opened the studio on January 15th, 1946. And within a week, I had to hire somebody to help me do develop the film. I had so much stuff going on, I couldn't do everything. And within a month, I hired somebody to answer phones. And from then on, it was just
good business.
A good business, yeah. And well, plus the fact that I had taken pictures all through through college, and I had a lot of money in the bank. I mean, it was amazing how much, because I had no place to spend it, and I was working all the time, so I couldn't really spend it anywhere anyway. So I ended up, I don't know how much I had, but I had a lot of money. I mean, I would say, $2,000 or $3,000 or something like that. And your father came home with, he in 2 years, he never spent any of his money, so he had a whole pile of, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000, $7,000. So the first thing we did was to buy property in Glenview. We bought 2 lots in Glenview. And by the time we decided we could afford to build a house, we knew we didn't want to live in Glenview. And so we tried to sell the lots and couldn't sell them. So finally, we ran an ad in the paper that said, "We'll exchange 2 lots in Glenview for a house on the North Shore."
Uh-huh.
So somebody answered our ad and said, "You would take them in exchange, and he'll build us a house." And the only property he had was in Wilmette and the Indian Hill Estates. And I said, "Geez, that's one of the best places you can build." So he built us a house there, and it was cute. We wanted it red brick and clapboard. He said, "No, I don't believe in red at all. I'll put stone there, but you can't have red brick. I don't believe in red brick." Okay. Okay. So it was a really pretty house, and that's where...
Everybody was born.
Except you,
yeah. So what was Nana doing? Did she work at all, or what was she doing this whole time?
Well, let me see. Yes, she did. She worked. She was a... let me tell you what she was. She was so cute. She was a... what do you call them? The people that are paid to introduce...
Welcome wagon.
Welcome wagon, yeah. And she loved it. I mean, that was more fun because she would go around and get coupons from all these different people.
Uh-huh.
And then take them to all the new people who bought houses. And so she loved that. That was fun. And then she finally got tired of that, and she decided she'd become a practitioner. So she had her own office. She had an office in Evanston.
Like a doctor's office?
Yeah.
But for practitioners?
Yeah.
Because I do remember her doing that forever. She did it at her house later.
Yeah, eventually at her home, yeah. And, well, so then when we were... Where were we living? Before she met Boyd, she fell in love with a man who was a practitioner. And they were going to get married. But he was going on a trip somewhere, and I think he had a heart attack on the trip or something, and that was the end of him.
Huh.
So then this is before Boyd, I guess. It was before. And then she met your father's father and married him, and then when he died, and she met Bill Nordberg.
Uh-huh.
I married Bill Nordberg, and I think they were married at our house in Wilmette. On Chippewa.
That seemed like such an odd couple.
Oh,
I mean, I never met the man, but he seemed like
yeah.
he was Mr. Politico smoking
Oh, he
cigar.
was. Oh, he was. And she got a big kick out of it. I mean, they were invited. Because he was ahead of the sanitary canal.
Right. Where David now rose.
Yeah. Anyway, he was very well liked. He was really. I mean, I think he had pretty much money. I mean, I don't think he was wealthy, but I think he made a good salary. And now what was I going to say about him? And they had a house. But she enjoyed it, and they were invited when the Queen came over. It was before this last Queen. The Queen now.
Uh-huh.
I can't even think of her name. Isn't that stupid? But anyway. And they were invited to reception, and somewhere I have either something she wore to the to the occasion or something. I have all kinds of stuff at my mother's. I have that goes right, doesn't it? I can't go with it.
Yeah. Your blinker's on though.
I have a wooden thing about that long that you put in your leather gloves to stretch them.
Oh yeah.
And I have a darning because everybody darn all the socks, all kinds of crazy things.
I actually remember that darning thing.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, fun. So we're getting back on time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we should do some other time when you're in. Maybe when you see the
Yeah.
dentist, we could do Evanston.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to see where you guys, you and
yeah.
Dad lived.
I was thinking this morning I should show you where your father and I lived.
Yeah.
But I have driven down this road so many times. You're right.
Yep.
45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 105. That's 63 years.
You've been driving
Twice
up and
a
down
day.
this road.
Twice a day, times probably
7 days a week.
7 days a week, that's right. How many millions of times is that? I ran out a lot of cars, I'll tell you that.
Wasn't your first car a big Cadillac?
Oh, yeah,
I was
it was.
telling somebody that when we were at Stan Horwich I ran into.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
He said he loves your Christmas card letters. He reads the whole thing.
Does he? Isn't that cute?
But
That's so nice.
we were talking about your first car being that big Cadillac.
Yeah. Well, it was a huge Cadillac with enormous. And I bought it because I thought, well, I could take brides and grooms in it.
Oh yeah.
And I did.
You did? You drive them around?
Yeah. Well.
They wouldn't need a limo.
That's right. It was really a beautiful car. And it cost me probably about, $75 or something. Not very expensive. And as Jeff says, the gas probably cost about 10 cents a gallon or something.
Yeah. It's probably pennies a gallon.
Now, don't forget you're going to call Al.
Yeah, I'll call Al. I'll email him.
Please do. And be sure I can come.
Yeah.